police patrols looking out for these things. Unfortunately, I don't think the police rate this as a priority. I did see in the city a PCSO scream at one of these guys, and they can't detain him, Clive. They cannot detain him. Screamed at him, and off they went. So it's really dangerous. And
so you would legalise them, but only if there was training and helmets required?
Absolutely. Clive, be honest, last time you were driving, did you ever see one of these scooter guys look round to actually, before they changed or moved or stopped? They don't wear helmets, and they wear earphones. How could you possibly scooter along wearing earphones? It's dangerous.
Well, I mean, I worry as well about the what were once the Boris bikes, because you see people on those. They don't have helmets. They don't even come with helmets. They are all over the place. I mean, they're not like cyclists who at least have taken an interest in their own bike. They're usually tourists. They're going up one-way streets the wrong way. They've got no idea what they're doing. I think it's a similar sort of...
It is true what you're saying. I mean, to be honest with you, the Boris bikes are dangerous. I mean, they might be okay in a city devoted to bikes, or Cambridge, and I believe one or two others. But in central London, the only thing I will say about the Boris bikes is you can actually see them coming. They're big enough to spot when they're going all over the place. The e-scooters, with the speed they can get to, Clive, they can change really quickly, direction quickly.
Yes.
Absolutely quickly.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think all of them should wear helmets, and all of them should have some degree of training. But unfortunately, the e-scooters are the ones that suffered the tragedies, which were such a shame and most probably avoidable.
All right. Thank you very much, Jeff. Lots of comments coming in on this. Why would an e-scooter be any more dangerous than... It's not. It's the motor that's the issue. The term drive means to conduct commercial business. Barry says, if you want scooters on the road, I take it these scooters will have a number plate, pay tax and insurance just like a car. Clive, what's between an e-scooter and a push bike? People on push bikes ride the pavement and they don't stop on crossings. Clive, I just had a photo sent to me from my 18-year-old daughter who's renting an electric scooter to go around Budapest, similar to our rental bikes in London. Let's get moved properly with a speed limit, helmets and correct safety regulations in the UK. It's a great idea, says Guy in Sussex. Well, that is the next thing. If they're legal, then they're going to be like the rental bikes. There'll be rental scooters, and they're going to be all over the place. I know they already are very popular in the world. Jacob in Jerusalem. Hello, Jacob.
Hi, yes.
Hi, what would you like to say?
First time caller, I'm a bit nervous.
Don't worry. What would you like to say? You're in Israel. Do you have these scooters there?
They're all over the place. They're everywhere. The electric scooters and the electric bikes. And I think they're very dangerous.
Why? What can happen?
So the mentality over here is probably a bit different than in England. But over here, even when they go with helmets, they weave in and out of traffic. They don't pay attention to the traffic lights. And when they can't go on the road, they go onto the pavement and they go. I've seen a lot of close encounters.
And do you know, are they legal where you are?
I'm not exactly sure, but I don't think they're illegal because there's so many of them on the road. It doesn't really make sense they're illegal.
But you wouldn't make them legal. You'd rather they were illegal.
I wouldn't make them legal.
No.
Are they planning to make a code that they have to adhere to all the traffic regulations?
Well, this is what the argument is. At the moment, they're illegal in Britain. You're not allowed to go on the public highway. But the argument is that maybe with some regulations, speed limits, perhaps requirements for proper brakes and so on, that they then should be legal, because these things are very, very popular around the world. People love doing it, especially tourists. They love getting on these scooters. I think it's making us all lazy as well. Jacob, thank you. There's a view from Jerusalem. Let's talk to Lawrence in Edgware. Hello, Lawrence.
Hi, Clive.
Hi.
He just stole a bit of my thunder, Jacob, in Jerusalem, because I recently come to Tel Aviv
for a week's
holiday with my wife, and I'd never seen these scooters before, never realised they existed, and we were besieged by them. They are an absolute menace. They fly along the main roads, they fly down the side roads. We try to beachfront road, and they come weaving in and out of you, in and out of people walking along the road. The kids, mostly young people, obviously, are riding them. They don't wear helmets, and they don't seem to have any regard for pedestrians at all. If they ever get legalised in London, it will be an absolute nightmare for motorists, for pedestrians, and there will be lots and lots of very serious accidents.
Would it be a way of getting rid of cars? Because, you know, it's a place like London, we've got far too much. Moment we've got pollution.
No, I mean, you've got to be pretty adept at being able to ride one of these things. I mean, you know, riding an ordinary kid scooter is bad enough. These people are standing on them with both feet. They're weaving in and out like acrobats, and you have to be very, very adept and probably a youngster to ride them. You won't find many old people ever be able to balance on them, and I don't think they're going to get rid of any cars by bringing these things in. I mean, yeah, a lot of people, of course, are not youngsters, and they'd never be able to learn to drive these things. There was also in Israel many of these electric bicycles as well. And if you're walking along the promenade, which is a lovely, beautiful promenade in Tel Aviv, full of restaurants and beach restaurants, these things were absolutely causing us nightmares because we were nearly got run over 2 or 3 times by the bicycles. A lot of times by these kids on these electric scooters. They're definitely not user friendly for roads like we have here in London.
Okay, all right. So you would definitely not make them legal in?
Absolutely not. No,
in the UK.
I mean, God help us all, illegal.
All right, Lawrence. Thank you very much. Clive, can they be trusted not to use them on the pavement? I very much doubt it. They are far more dangerous to pedestrians than cyclists, says Tarek in Hill. Clive, with 40 articulated trucks on the road, are we going to have these idiots weaving in and out of traffic? How stupid this country is getting, says Albert. Another one here from Neil, who says wheels destabilised by potholes more than bigger wheels. Try driving a small holes compared to driving a Land Rover over the same thing. Scooters could be absolutely lethal because of the potholes. More calls coming in a moment. 8:30 on LB. Here's the news with Serena Farrow.
More people are being evacuated from their homes in Derbyshire amid fears a damaged dam could collapse. Further bad weather is forecast. 55 homes in the Horwich End in Whaley Bridge area are being cleared tonight, days after 1,500 residents have already left. Police in Texas are warning people to stay away from a shopping mall in El Paso because of a gunman in the vicinity. A number of people have been shot near the Vista complex. It's not clear how seriously they've been injured. Stay with LBC for the latest. And 2 men have been arrested on suspicion of possession with intent to supply Class A drugs following the deaths of 6 people in Essex. It comes after the suspected drugs-related deaths of 3 men and 3 women over 3 days. LBC weather, well, heavy showers continuing across northern and western parts of the UK, mostly dry in the south and east with some mist by dawn and a low of 13 degrees.
This is LBC.
It's 99p week at Lidl and we're big on family favourites for less. That means a pot of seriously strong vintage spreadable, 12 Bird's Eye chicken dippers, Flash bathroom spray with bleach and Fairy washing up liquid, all just 99p each from Thursday the 1st of August. Now that's big on quality and always Lidl on price. Subject to availability, selected stores excludes.
Me, James O. New podcast series, Full Disclosure. This week I'm speaking to the author of This Is Going to Hurt.
The last time you were in hospital, you probably couldn't count the number of different nationalities you encountered. And that's one of the best, the NHS.
Listen and subscribe now on the LBC or Global Player.
When it comes to cruising, you don't want to feel like just another number. Thankfully, the new boutique ships from Saga offer a more... There's a door-to-door chauffeur to take you to and from the ship.
Bon voyage, Mr. Goodman.
Cheers. Every cabin has a balcony sea view. Beautiful. Dine at the ultimate speciality restaurants. Delicious. And each ship has a whole host of venues to match your mood. And guess what? I'm in the mood for dancing. It's a boutique cruise personal to you. Boutique Cruises by Saga for your discovery.
Save up to 35 on all-inclusive cruises. Search Discovery to find out more. Over 50s only.
For big savings on solid hardwood furniture. Free delivery. Don't miss the big savings event at Oak Furnitureland. Online and in-store. Ends Sunday.
Football is back on Sky Sports.
With our total football offer, you get all our football for just £18 extra a month.
Absolutely amazing.
Has more live games than ever before and more of the biggest fixtures. That means more passion, more drama, more glory. All for just £18 extra a month.
And it's live.
Search by Sky Sports. Sky Sports Football and Premier League, £18 a month. Requires Sky TV. Prices may change during this period. Offer ends September 26th. This is LBC with Clive Bull.
LBC, I'm Clive. It's the Legal Hour, free legal advice with property lawyer Russell Conway joining me this week. So if you have a property legal question, call us at 9 o'clock and we'll take some more calls on the controversial e-scooters on the public highway in just a moment. First, though, Heathrow Airport is to cancel over 170 flights on Monday and Tuesday after a union vote rejected a around 4,000 Unite members on the airport's revised deal, 88% opting to strike. So if the walkouts go ahead, almost 2,500 staff will miss work. Let's find out more from Gethin, aviation and travel commentator. Hello, Sally.
Hello there.
So what's the issue behind the strike?
Yeah, they're just not happy, are they? They want extra pay. They reckon they're not being paid enough. And by the way, there's problems with the same union at Gatwick as well. And they're saying, well, we get poverty pay. In turn, just going back to Heathrow, because that's the most immediate challenge coming up, Heathrow Airport is saying, do you know what? We pay more than enough, actually more than a junior Metropolitan Police officer, and more than actually other London airports, BAA airports, and we think we are a good employer.
So what do you think, if this does go ahead, I mean, one might hope there might be some sort of last-minute settlement, but what do you think is going to be the effect if this does go ahead?
Well, there's everything to play for at the moment. So they are going to restart talks tomorrow, on Sunday tomorrow, doing at NetCASE, the conciliation service. So there's still a possibility to rescue. But the trouble is now the die is cast really in some ways, because airlines have been put on notice that this is going to happen, and that, as you said, 177 flights to be cancelled. So even if the strike was to be averted, some of those airlines will have made changes to their schedules possibly, and that could have disruption all of its own. So we just don't know. Basically, if you have a flight on Monday or Tuesday, first of all, you do need to check with your airline's website. British Airways, for example, is offering refunds and rebooking to its customers, for example. So that's encouraging if the flight's cancelled. Although having said that, BA said it hasn't actually cancelled flights yet. I guess they're just hanging on in there and waiting to see. And then, you know, go to the airport if you feel it will be worthwhile based on the response you get from your airline. The airport will be operating normally in the sense that it will be staffed, it will be operating. It's just that massive queues possibly, and you have to allow more time for those queues. There won't be so many security staff on hand to get you through those security bottlenecks, which, as we all know, a massive headache, isn't it, going through those on a usual day. So we just don't know at the moment, but hopefully it won't be as bad as it could be.
Thanks, Sally. Thank you very much. Sally Gethin joining us there, aviation and travel commentator. Let's get back to the issue of another way of travelling, e-scooters. Should they be legal? Richard in Oxford. Hello, Richard.
Hi there.
Hi, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think they're great. I would use them all the time when I lived in London. Live here now in Oxford. Just as great. And from what I've been hearing from a lot of the calls, you know, they are really actually quite safe. I mean, my one weighs 13 kilograms. And if you were to give me the option of being hit by somebody on a Boris bike that weighs 25 kilos or being hit by somebody riding one of them at 12 miles an hour, I'd pick the scooter, frankly.
If we're on the road, then, I mean, it's you that's going to be in danger on the e-scooter, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of what a lot of that risk comes down to is things that aren't really part of the problem of the scooter user. You know, it's the car. The car is fundamentally the problem to both scooter users and
cars
cyclists.
are already there, aren't they? And we don't want to allow people to go on with scooters and then get run over. I mean, there have been deaths because of this.
Yeah, but are they because the scooters themselves are inherently dangerous, or are they because...
Isn't it because
the
they don't mix?
Themselves, the cyclists are just as at risk. And the one thing I'd just like make as a final point, you know, they feel like, all these things are illegal, but every day I can make a choice between doing something that's illegal and only affects me, or I can jump in my diesel car and I can be in a to the illegal act of air quality laws. You know, it's perfectly legal for me to get into my diesel and spew out particulate that helps kill thousands of people a year.
Do you think they are a force for good, then, these e-scooters? That they are genuinely the environment?
Tremendously. With a small caveat, I think the real strength of them lies in when you own them yourself. Like, every criticism that I've heard of them is always based on the idea of dockless and being able to rent them out. Because you rent something out for a couple of quid, you don't care. You know, you're not that invested in it. But if you own it and you've paid for it, you know, you take care of it. You know, you keep it parked away safely.
Yeah.
And, oh, my God, that's such an amazing thing about scooters. So much stress parking in cities. Now I can just fold it up, take into a cafe with me, and life is good.
Is it making you a bit lazy, though? I mean, why don't you just walk?
To be honest, the journeys that I take are ones that I would have had to have used some other form of transport for. So I commute about 6 miles every day,
right?
And the choice of that is my car or I can take this.
Or get the bus.
You know, if I just want to go out to the shops, you know, I don't want to have the hassle of, you know, bringing it, folding it, locking it up. You know, there's an inherent hassle in it.
Slightly worried that we are
lazy.
Well, I just fear that one day we're all gradually becoming less active and being transported by various machines. But Richard, I hear what you're saying. He's a big fan. What's the problem? What do you think? Robert in Soho. Hello, Robert.
Hello.
Hello. Are you a fan of these things?
I am a fan of it, and I really think that it's important that we consider it that we go in. If you think about things like traffic congestion, climate change, the ambition to move towards e-vehicles, why would we not consider something like this? I hear a lot of debate about, you know, is it lazy to be on an e-cycle, or what are we going to do to train these people? We need to think of personal responsibility, and I think we need to detach from blaming police, blaming city governments, from, suddenly we've got something new we need to pay for and take care of. We've already got a system in place. If you're going to operate on the roads, you stop at a stop sign, you stop at a crosswalk, you obey traffic laws. Systems are in place. You have a driver's
and how's that going with cyclists, for example?
I see a mix. If you're out on the roads, you see cyclists that obey those signs and cyclists that don't.
Yeah, and motorists.
Then the question becomes, if we're upset about the cyclists that don't obey, then the question becomes, why aren't we enforcing that? Why are we turning a blind eye to it if we're so upset about it?
Okay. What about the potential for serious accidents, though, that you know, with the best will in the world, and we want to encourage eco-friendly travel, if you are balancing on one of these scooters, you are in danger, aren't you, on a road?
You are. You're less protected in a vehicle.
Yeah.
But again, at what point do we separate or make a division between personal responsibility and personal choice, and blaming city governments, saying, "Oh, it's the city's fault that we didn't put a proper training program in, and take money from taxpayers to do that."
But we do. You do pass a test. Why shouldn't you have to pass a test for an e-scooter?
Oh, I'm absolutely in favor of it. And it goes back to my comment about if you're going to operate on a city road, you should operate just as anybody does.
Right.
As I mentioned, the system is already in place.
Right.
So
but you would apply it to e-scooters as well, I see.
Yes. My point is we shouldn't panic and say we've got to develop an entirely new system to manage this. The system is there. The system is there. It's just apply it fairly to everybody who's going to choose to use that roadway.
All right. Thank you, Robert. Interesting. Afiz in Highbury. Hello, Afiz.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm all right. So you a fan of these e-scooters?
Well, I'm a fan of rideables, not just e-scooters. So my name, as you know me, is Afiz K. I'm the co-founder of rideable.org.
Oh, right. You were behind this protest as well, weren't you?
I was supporting Peter.
Right.
So, yes.
Okay.
So we are a think tank organization, and not for profit, definitely, organization that have done our research to understand viability of rideables. When I say rideables, of course, not just e-scooters, but electric skateboard and electric unicycle, and the benefits as well. So, yeah, I am definitely in favor of rideables, yeah.
How fast do these rideables go generally?
I guess that question, I can ask you the same thing. How fast can a Tesla Model S goes? A Tesla Model S can go 100 an hour. That doesn't mean I go 150 miles an hour in a 20-mile, limited road. Exactly. So
but how fast could you go if you wanted to? I mean, can you keep up with the traffic? I guess is the point I'm making here.
Well, I guess it depends. It depends on what the policy is. And again, we have a recommended policy on rideables.org. So how fast can you go? You can go up to the recommended 20 miles an hour speed limit on the road.
So
which I believe is safe because you do need to keep up with traffic.
So you would go for 20 miles an hour?
I would recommend that. However, at the same time, I still believe that the 15.5 miles an hour that has been set for e-bikes is equally it's equally beneficial for everybody because we already have that in place anyway. But the most important thing is you shouldn't limit rideables to a certain speed and then allow normal vehicles on the road to go.
Do you think you should have insurance and have a test and all the other things that drivers have to do?
Good question. Yes, for insurance. In other things that other drivers have to do. Do we do the same thing for cyclists or e-bikes? And why is that? Why do we need to apply one rule for rideables?
I'm just asking whether you think you should for e-scooters. Do you think that you should be having a test of some kind?
At the moment,
maybe a number plate as well?
And what is the benefit of having a number plate? Is it to ensure that...
to check whether you've got your insurance for a start.
Well, okay. Well, at the end of the day, one thing that we have to make sure is not to segregate or put in too much of a barrier to clean transportation. That is what we're trying to encourage. We shouldn't be discouraging this. This is an electric vehicle. These are electric vehicles in general. So we have to encourage the use of electric vehicles in our cities. And rideables, don't forget, they don't just reduce air pollution, but they also reduce congestion at the same time. And they're the best first and last mile vehicle that we have.
Okay. All right. Great stuff, Afiz. I'm grateful to you. Got to stop you there. More calls coming in a moment on this. 0345 6060 973.
The countdown is on.
We're going to fulfil the repeated promises of Parliament to the people.
The country's future up for grabs.
I will take personal responsibility for the change I want to see. Never mind the backstop. Stops here.
When the Prime Minister speaks, you'll hear it first on LBC.
I'm here on your show. Yes. And I want to talk about what I would love to do for our country.
Don't miss a moment, as history is made.
No ifs or buts.
LBC, leading Britain's conversation.
Get an Ocean credit card. Check if you're eligible in minutes without affecting your credit score. It comes with a credit limit of up to £1,500 too. So get online and check for yourself at ocean.co.uk and get all that from Ocean. Intelligent London Limited is a credit broker. Capital One, the exclusive lender. Representative 39.9% APR variable.
Hello, I'm Baroness Floella Benjamin. I'm someone who loves chatting and speaks from the heart. I believe in sharing the joys of success. Yet, my time in Great Britain hasn't always been harmless. I've had to face so much adversity, but I never give up because adversity can break you or make you stronger. And that's what this podcast is all about. Subscribe and rate From the Heart on Global Player or wherever you get your podcasts.
Whether it's a holiday packed full of culture, a holiday packed full of tranquility, or a holiday packed full of adventure, book your perfect holiday with Travel Bag. From round-the-world trips or city breaks to beach holidays or escorted tours, visit travelbag.co.uk or our newly opened store in Baker Street. Travel Bag, 40 years of experience packed into your perfect holiday. Visit Travel Bag in Baker Street today. At or protected.
William, Pamela and Anthony were sold investments by banks and ended up losing money. Luckily, they contacted the financial claims experts at Goodwin Barrett and were able to claim back a total of £65,500. At Goodwin, we may be able to help you too. If you've lost an investment sold by a bank, even if you no longer have the investment or the paperwork, just text SOLD to 66777 for a free assessment on how much you could be owed. Text SOLD to 66777 and we'll call you back.
Clive Bull on LBC.
LBC, I'm Clive Bull. Coming up in 10 minutes' time, after the news at 9, is the legal. And this legal session is looking particularly at property law. Russell Conway is here, property experts, to answer your questions about all aspects of property. If you've got a legal question about property, buying and selling, renting, leasing, leases, landlord and tenant problems, all of that, planning... call us right now, 0345 6060 973, and we'll get you lined up for the legal hour coming up at 9 o'clock. Back to e-scooters and the campaign to have them legalised. Leroy is in Brixton. Hello, Leroy.
Hi there, good evening, Clive. We're doing a wonderful show, and I think it's really excellent. I mean, my opinion on e-scooters is the best thing in the world. And the reason I say that is because there's no pollution. You see, we got all these cars, cause all this pollution, and obviously Boris Johnson doesn't like it. You know, he's brought out these bikes. And I believe, you know, I mean, everything in the world is dangerous, but it's how you use it. And why some form of restriction on them, or have some form of tax, or, you know, put them in like a category where like it's safe to ride and it's legal, then, Clive, I believe it can work.
Are the people using them at the moment, are they being responsible, though? Because I'm getting people texting and tweeting, weaving in and out. They're worse than bicycles. They're unregulated. They're dangerous to pedestrians.
That is 100% correct. But as I said before, once they've been restricted and they've been like taxed and insured and legal instructions on how to ride them, I believe definitely it can work.
Okay. So you would treat them just like cars then, or just like motorbikes?
I would treat them just like, say, motorbikes. We could say motorbikes. They're similar type of transport on the road, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for...
Good evening, how are you?
I'm very good.
I just have a couple of points to make based on what I've overheard on the conversation so far. I think the first one would be your concern about and whether people stop, you know, using their legs. Yeah. And personally, I think it's not necessarily about that. This idea of legalization, it's much bigger than that, and it's not necessarily about. It's about giving people the framework to operate safely and legally, whether or not it has, you know, if they choose to ride this e-bike or e-scooter and not walk, then that's a choice that they make. But the truth is, a lot of these people see it as an easier way to commute, not necessarily to, go to the shops or something. This is a long-distance commute that we're talking about. And
but it is sort of lazy, though, isn't it? I mean, you could get on a bike and do it.
There are. But can I just... but in terms of the health benefits, I think if we're looking at the long term, in terms of the reduction of air pollution, etc., I think it's actually worth it. And the thing is that once you legalise it, then you can start having conversations about saying, you can do this, but the alternative to e-scootering is walking or cycling. But the problem is that e-scooters can't be engaged in any of these conversations because they are illegal. And that goes on to the responsibility part as well, which I'll come on to later. But I do just want to say that in terms of air pollution, there have been 9,400 extra deaths caused due to poor air quality, and that's in London alone. And if we can do anything to help shift that and reduce that, then and that includes the broader introduction of EVs, cars, then I think then we're in a good direction.
All right, Kieran, I'll stop you there just because your line's going a little bit, but we get your point. Tom in South. Hello, Tom.
Hello. Thank you for having me on board. Yeah, just with regards to the kind of electric vehicle overall, because I think at the moment is the focus on scooters because there's such a mass flood of them on the market, and I think that's due to affordability. Like you're looking at entry level.
How much are they?
So kind of an entry level is about 400, and then I'll say like anything can go to any kind of range depending on what kind of performance and what kind of thing you're looking at. But then you can look at other things, for example, electric skateboard from 800 to 2,000 depending on what you buy. The same thing with the unicycle.
Right.
So I think the problem is the fact that, like, I think going over and over is that there is a maturity level where there's a lot of people buying them who don't have as much of a financial kind of commitment to the safety and the welfare of what they're buying. For me personally, I ride an electric skateboard around London, and I am incredibly... My philosophy is I am as polite to everyone as possible. Red lights, I'm stopping, approaching officers because they're just doing their job and making sure that we're building a positive relationship with the community and not getting these things banned.
So you would like them legalised? Would you like them to go as far as driving tests and insurance and all number plates?
In regards to insurance and stuff like that, that is obviously because obviously when you go out and you ride, whatever you do, you're taking responsibility of your own welfare. But in regards to the insurance, it's making sure that you're not causing any bringing someone else, a third party, into that scene. So I think the big thing is that we have a baseline to have kind of a good community about, as obviously like anything, I think the difference being is when you had like the hoverboards and stuff that come initially, that's not a legitimate form of transport. And then in regards to stuff like the e-scooters and all that, it's a legitimate form of travel. And I think that with modern technology and things coming up nowadays, these things are not going to go away. So they need to be done with role models, the right people, the right community supporting these things and guiding them in a way to benefit the community.
All right, great call. Thank you very much. Kwame is in Islington. Hello, Kwame.
Hi, Clive. How you doing? You all right?
Yes, very good. What do you want to say?
Good. I'm an electric scooter rider myself. I'm all for them. I was just listening to some of the callers regarding safety, and I've got my electric scooter is quite robust. I've taken all the safety measures I can take. I've got indicator lights on them. I've got a smart helmet that has also indicator lights on there, front and back. And so, my scooter goes as that keeps up with the traffic. Quite robust. It's got really big wheels, so it's like 12-inch wheels, where generally you tend to get like 8-inch wheels on the smaller ones. And so it's quite robust, going over bumps, even potholes. It's quite, and also the presence of it because it's quite high up. Okay, so I can be seen by cars. And I've done nearly sort of 1,500 miles on my scooter. I've never fallen off. I've never had any issues with cars. I've got a rear view mirror on mine as well, so I can see behind me.
Very fancy.
Yeah, I've taken all the measures that I need to take, and even to this day, still look out for other options that I can do in terms of, being even more present on the road and staying safe. I think we have a responsibility, on the road to be considerate, obviously, of other vehicles, cycles.
That is the big thing, isn't it? I'll stop you there, Kwame. Thank you very much. Interesting to hear how many calls we've got in favour of this. I mean, there's plenty of people. I mean, I've got a text here as well saying, Clive, I've got a mirror dash cam footage showing these idiots riding e-scooters. So it's a common issue, but interesting to see that there's support for them as well. Now, we're going to go back to the news from Texas. El Paso police saying that the scene near the Cielo Vista Mall in Texas is still active, urging people to avoid the area. Marianne Martinez is a freelance reporter based in Texas. She's currently in El Paso. We can go to her now. Marianne, thank you for joining us. What more can you tell us at this stage?
Well, I can tell you that we've also just received word about a little more information about what weapon was used from the El Paso Police Department. They are confirming that a male is in custody and that he used. That's the weapon police believe was used in the shooting. We're hearing disturbing numbers about how many people were rushed to the hospital, dozens of people, and I think probably everyone here is hoping that that is not indicative of the number of fatalities, which is not confirmed at this time, but I think everyone's hoping that it will be on the lower end. But we do know that several people are dead.
Because initially we were told 18 and we didn't know whether they were seriously injured or not, but from what you say, it's going to be more serious than that.
As I say, there's been no number confirmed about how many people have died, but I think everyone's bracing for a number and hoping that it's not as high as what we're hearing about the number of people who were rushed to the hospital.
So is this still an active scene? And what's happened to the perpetrator? There was talk again of there being more than one.
Right. We have gotten conflicting information. The mayor's office has reported 3 people in custody. The police department is saying only 1 person in custody. The police department also said they don't consider this active in the sense that they don't think there's a present threat. They think that the threat has been neutralized, but it is still an active scene in the sense that there are multiple sites that are being investigated, and they are continuing to search for the possibility that more.
And you've been trying to drive your family to the reunification centre, I gather.
I was actually just trying to drive there myself. I live in the Cielo Vista area. That's where my mother's home is. I live in Dallas, but my mother's home is in this area, and grew up in this neighborhood. And the reunification center is actually the middle school that I went to for most of my life. I went there from kindergarten all the way until 8th grade, so I spent quite a bit of time, and it is shocking to be going for this.
It's going to be quite a shock for the community to deal with.
It is. El Paso is actually an incredibly safe city, often ranked among the safest in the nation. Our neighbor to the south, which we're just on the border with Mexico, Ciudad Juarez, which is often in the news for violence, that doesn't spill over to our community. I was a reporter here years ago on the TV stations, and when I was a reporter here, we only had 17 murders for a whole year. I mean, it's a very safe community. And obviously we know that mass shootings like this can happen anywhere. We just saw one about a week ago in California at a garlic festival. We know that this can happen anywhere, but when it knocks on your door, it's quite a different feeling.
Absolutely. Thank you very much indeed for giving us your time, Marianne Martinez in El Paso. Coming up shortly after the news, we have the Legal Hour, 0345 6060 973.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 9 o'clock, police in Derbyshire say a further 55 homes near a partially collapsed dam will be evacuated ahead of more bad weather. People living in Horwich End in the Whaley Bridge area being asked to stay with family or friends. Work to stop the structure at Toddbrook Reservoir from bursting is now in its third day. Well, Policy and Communications Director at the Grantham Research Institute on Climate Change and the Environment, Bob Ward, has been explaining to LBC what the problems are.
My understanding is that they're desperately trying to lower the water in the dam at the moment to try and relieve some of the pressure, because thunderstorms and heavy rainfall are predicted in the next 24 hours. So I think the danger has not passed by any means.
To America now, and officials in Texas say multiple people have been killed in a shooting at a shopping centre in the city of El Paso. Police are warning people to stay away from the mall. It's understood 3 suspects are in custody. Matt Briscoe, a conflict and disaster reporter based there, has been giving LBC the latest.
We have been able to confirm that 18 people have been shot or injured in this incident, but we do not know their injuries, the extent of those injuries, or even to what hospitals they were taken to. Now, El Paso is a fairly large city. There's a level 1 trauma center there, so it's quite a large hospital they have available to them. You would imagine that they have the resources on hand to handle that, but if you're dealing with 18 very critical, you can imagine it's going to tax their system pretty well.
In other news, United Airlines' flight to New York was stopped this morning after 2 pilots failed a breath test. The 2 men were arrested by police at Glasgow Airport. Meantime, talks aimed at preventing strikes by thousands of workers at Heathrow Airport have been adjourned and will continue tomorrow. At least 172 flights for next Monday and Tuesday have been cancelled because of a planned 48-hour stoppage by members of the Unite Union. Finally, the singer and entertainer Joe Longthorne has died at the age of 64. He found fame in 1991 on Search for a Star. LBC weather: heavy showers continuing across northern and western parts of the UK. Elsewhere in the south and east, though, it's dry with a low of 13. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Serena Farrow.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Clive Bull.
LBC, I'm Clive Bull, and it's Conway, senior partner at Oliver Fisher Solicitors in Notting Hill. So we're going to be talking about property problems and lots more as well. So if you have then call us now, 0345 6060 973. Evening, Russell.
Evening.
We're going to talk first about legal aid, which I didn't think there was much of it around these days.
Well, 70 years ago, something rather wonderful happened, because the Legal Aid and Advice Act was, and that introduced into England and Wales the best legal aid system, and certainly for the first 50 years, the aid system that we had in this country was to die for. Everyone in the world used to send delegations to have a look at it, because it enabled people who couldn't afford to take legal advice on important matters, home, if they were getting divorced, if they were being sacked from their job unfairly. And our system was tremendous. But come the last few years, the government has been doing its level best to dismantle it. And the 2000 is LASPO, virtues of legal aid. And just to give you an example, Clive, back in 2015, there were something like 700,000 acts of civil assistance under the legal aid scheme. It's gone down to about 100,000. It's been decimated. It's taken to pieces by the government. Now, they have said that's due to austerity, but only very recently we've heard from government ministers saying that austerity is at an end. People who can't afford solicitate legal advice, if you're unfairly from your job, if you're being thrown out of your home, if you're living in a slum, if you're getting divorced and being beaten up by your partner, why shouldn't you have the right solicitor? And the tragedy is, this system that we instigated And we've been celebrating as a profession that 70th anniversary, but we're also rather sad that we're seeing it be dismantled. And I think that's going to be for the greater problems, because when you can't get legal advice on something, it has a knock-on. You become homeless, and when another responsibility has to try and find you somewhere to live. Somebody said that every homeless person costs the state over £200,000.
Right, well, one way of getting a little bit of free legal advice at least.
But if you paid a solicitor a few £100 to defend that person in court, you might prevent that act of homelessness.
We have some legal help here with Russell, so 0345 6060 973 to guide you through property problems. Sammy in Bromley. Hi, Sammy, what can we do for you?
Oh, hi, Clive. Yeah, I wrote Mr. Russell last year. And the property was a one-bedroom apartment. It's a ground floor. And when we paid the deposit, everything, and they told us to get the lawyer for completion, and the completion they gave us days. When we went to the lawyer after a month, he come back says we cannot go for completion because this property have no right of way. It means you don't have access somewhere which is originally access to the highway. So basically, you purchase the land in the council. The printers from land registry was marked with a red color, but the building was built. It had no planning permission. So the building was built without and being sold to us. So which we
How much was the deposit, Sammy?
14,000. It was at 14,000. Yes.
So, Sammy, if you had completed on the property, you would have had to pay the balance of, I believe, 140,000.
Not complete,
no.
So the lawyer was not going to do that.
The problem you've got here, son, is a very brutal process. When you put your hand up and you bid, you have acquired the property and you pay the deposit, and at that point there's no going back. And it's possible that they could even try to enforce the sale or not. Are they trying to suggest that they might?
The same property, but we found later that they says the property which we purchased belonged to the neighbor, which the front of the property belongs to that building.
Oh, I see. So they're not trying to enforce the sale against you?
No.
The fact that you've lost your £14,000 deposit?
Yes.
And is that when you go to an auction, and as I said, it's a fairly brutal process. Once you put your hand up and you pay, you're committed. And just because there's a problem, such as this right-of-way or absence of planning permission, that doesn't give you the deposit back. And sadly, Sammy, I think you've lost your money.
Sorry about that, Sammy. Thank you. Mary in Forest Hill. Hello, Mary.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me, Clive?
Yes. What's the problem?
All right. First time caller, I'm very nervous.
Don't worry.
Bear with me.
Oh, don't be nervous of me, Mary.
No, it's really about my situation. I'm a complete nervous wreck, actually. I've had a breakdown over it. Tenant, and I'm under a house. I have a support worker for mental health who's been trying to give me some support via appointments, but it's very far spread apart. She went to the ombudsman. Because of my health, I can't write now because it's got to me so much, and I'm trying to get, first of all, some peace from my neighbours who, for long lengths of time,
what sort of device is it, Mary?
Well, I thought it's a generator, but it could be any kind of mechanical thing. My landlord did converse with me whatsoever, and there was a lull for some time, but I resumed last night. And as a result, I've had extreme anxiety, upset stomach, unable to breathe.
Could it be something like a washing machine or a refrigerator or a faulty motor or something like that?
No, it's something that's maximum, non-stop, and reverberates right through the room. It's very hard to pick up on a noise app. And in fact, my landlord told me that actually the app could have been taken to an industrial estate and something recorded there and brought back.
So have they actually been to inspect your...
They're afraid. This is now 4 years. It seems they're afraid neighbours. I myself don't approach them, but...
Now, you've been to see your landlord, Mary. Have you been to see the environmental health officer?
Yes, I have as well. And so far, they've installed a few weeks ago a £600,000 piece of machinery which was plugged into one room, and I couldn't move it, obviously. And
problem. But where can Mary take this other than the environmental health?
Well, she could go to her local councillor, she could go to her local MP. The problem is that this type of noise does upset people. Some people have quite a low noise threshold and they can get very upset.
I can understand that.
To the bottom of it and what's causing it. Sometimes it can be something, as I said, just a faulty washing machine or a faulty dishwasher. But once you get to the bottom of it, it can be very easily cured.
More calls coming in a moment. LBC, the Legal Hour, and it's 9.
Whether it's a holiday packed full of culture, a holiday packed full of tranquility, or a holiday packed full of adventure, book your perfect holiday with Travel Bag. From round-the-world travelbag.co.uk trips or city breaks to beach holiday store in Baker Street. Travel Bag, 40 years of experience packed into your perfect holiday. Visit Travel Bag in Baker Street today. At or protected.
For big savings on solid hardwood furniture with free delivery, don't miss the Oak Furniture Land. Online and in-store. Ends Sunday.
It's nice tutting, so here's some classical music. Nice. At Paddy Power, we thought football shirts could use a break from advertising too. That's why we've sponsored Huddersfield Town's shirt without a logo and started the Save Our Shirt campaign, where any football team that Paddy Power sponsor will be, well, unsponsored. We weren't on your shirt too? Now, let's get Bark to the... Enough of the nonsense. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
Join me, James O'Brien, for my new podcast series, Full Disclosure. This week I'm speaking to the author of This Is Going to Hurt, Adam Kay.
The last time you were in hospital, you probably couldn't count nationalities you encountered. And that's one of the best things about the NHS.
On the LBC app or Global Player.
If you get BT Superfast Fibre Essential, go on. And together, go on. You can choose tech worth up to £249 on us, like an Xbox One S All Digital Edition or a Samsung Galaxy tablet. Oh, $9.99 a month with a 24-month contract and $29.99 set of August in time for the new season. Search BT Broadband. BT. Be there.
CPI increase each March from 2020. BT Sport content and price may change. New customers $47.99 a month from month 25. Terms apply.
This is LBC, leading Britain's conversation with Clive Bull.
LBC, I'm Clive Bull. Our Russell Conway is here. We're talking about property problems. Just going back to these problems. I know it is a problem for a lot of people, especially in a place like London, big cities, where you're all packed in close together. You mentioned washing machines. If there is a noise problem, is there really any legal remedy, or do you
up with it? I mean, yes, certainly in the larger cities we live inverted. There isn't enough sound insulation, and quite often people live in blocks of flats where the sound insulation great. But there are lots of things that can cause us considerable frustration and make us quite angry. Somebody practicing on their piano, for example, which is something that causes a lot... doesn't sound like a nuisance, but if they're tonight, that can drive you pretty crazy. But things like washing machines going wrong, which can be very noisy, or dishwashers going wrong, reaching the end of their sell-by date, there are things you can do. In particular, the environmental health officer does need to take noise readings, and using acoustic equipment, he can show nuisance. And if a certain level, he can serve enforcement notices and prevent that nuisance from continuing.
OK, so there are some remedies.
Yes, there are remedies, for sure.
OK, let's go to Michael in Brentford. Hello. Evening, what can we do for you?
I've been running a high street letting agency for the last 3 years. Recently, I started receiving correspondence from a firm of solicitors who are acting on behalf of the mortgage lender. It turns out, basically, they've taken me to gain possession of the property. They told me that I need to vacate the property by the 3rd of September. I've been keeping the letting agent up to date with all correspondence that I've received. I've been told that I need to leave the property by the 3rd of September, and they've just responded by telling me, unfortunately, I'm not been getting any advice or much feedback from them in return. Recently, they've been instructed by the landlord to give me notice, and that the last day of my tenancy will be the 14th of September. I've written back to them to say, look, I've been instructed to leave legally by the 3rd, and apparently the mortgage lender is now in possession of the property, and then he emailed any of my questions. So I'm just wondering, who do I need to listen to, and who's I need to abide by?
Right, Michael, good question. Tell me, have you seen a court order making an order for possession in relation to your premises?
Correspondence in the form of a letter from...
If you see, if the mortgage company had gone to court to get an order for possession, they would have had to notify you as an occupier of the premises. They would have had to give you copies of the court proceedings and any court order for possession, you. Now, I don't believe that the mortgage lender has necessarily gone to threatening to go to court, because obviously the mortgage lender, if it's not getting its mortgage paid, is going to get irritable and upset and will be writing aggressive solicitors' letters to your lord. However, you don't have to do anything. Certainly, once you're in possession, telling you that you wouldn't have to, you receive from the court bailiff. We give you at least 7 days of when they're going to come on the scene. Wonder what's going on. Wonder perhaps been hoot, but I wouldn't go in and time as you are 100% sure or possession has been made by the county court to leave.
Okay, good luck. It's the lead. One line clear. 0345 2609, and Kate is in.
I'd like some advice on releasing equity on a property. 4 years left on the mortgage. The property that I'd like in France, and 130 euro. The property, I just would like some advice.
The property you have in England, is that property taken some advice from a broker or an accountant, property you'd be able to get an equity release on?
Standard mortgage that I have is, and the end of it.
Equity, I thought you were talking about some release scheme.
Well, that is what I'd like, the route down. If that, I get it, and...
There's lots of schemes out there, literally hundreds of... What you should to a broker, because obviously you don't know about these sort of schemes that are in most shops, where you should find and release equity on. You need to know there are problems with it. It's not all that you wouldn't go down that route when you hear the problems associated. For a moment, you get your 140,000 euros. You're then buying a property, and you obviously have to get advice from a notaire attorney. Have you lived in France before, Kate?
Yeah, well...
Good idea to rent a property for 6 months. Enjoying living. You bought somewhere. It's a birth. I've got lots of clients in Spain, and then of course they can't sell. A problem with that's in Spain at the moment. But if you're thinking about buying in France, would really strongly rent at or a house in 6 months, type of to what in this country, but somewhere and you into that property, it can be very difficult to sell it. That you know, buy a don't like it, you sell it. There's a very active. Generally, you can leave Spain. They're not so sell sometimes. So be.
Not be a coming up as well.
Well, let's not.
Need to bear it in mind, Kate. Yeah. That's Jerry on Trent. Hello.
Oh, good evening, Clive and Russell.
Evening.
And thanks for the generosity of the call. And we've since discussed needed sort. Long story, we only had a customer care coordinator who really didn't feel comfortable with responsible in managing. We've managed to at least query the issue. The person who we're to has passed on through that my details that they configured accordingly, and just accept that I can be confident that he has in fact amended accordingly. I'm concerned all neighbours are properly informed on history are informed. I wonder if you could give me somebody ever sell it later.
Right, Jerry, well, the first thing is an exchange of emails does anything in law to boundary. When you bought your house, you would type house registered registry, because there will be something called office copy entry showing your, and there will be a plan attached entries. All that is changed. Nothing's happened. Nothing. There is a here who's changed. No boundaries.
Problem, yeah.
And that because if your neighbour, you've irritated. So you do need to have a friendly conversation with your neighbour. Then you need to with your lawyer, property for you, and ask to have the plan registry on if you agree. See, and then you've got to try not to have boundaries, and you'll fall out with.
Okay, thank you for that call. Line clear 0345 60 973 for the property hour. Duncan in Richmond.
Simple. And I was wondering if there was a time property. The neighbours had their roof, repaired to the beginning of 2018, and they've still got the scaffold. No on, so it's just standing there, and it's a rather nice access to windows next door.
That's good grief.
That is extra, costs a huge amount of money, and the longer you have it up, the more it costs, because most people rent scaffolding over a month or 2 months, etc., and nobody in their right mind would want to keep the scaffolding up for any longer than necessary. But there may be a continuing problem. I mean, put the scaffolding up, discovered need some sort of planning issue or some party wall issue, or
there's another element to the story. A gentleman turned up and said, I'm going to take this down because the scaffolding company has gone bust. He took a few poles off it and then disappeared and said, I'll be back week, and he never turned up again. I think what's happened is the property is owned by a landlord who lives there and don't really know who he is or how to get in touch with him. So they don't know of any companies that deal with the lettings.
Well, I mean, all is not lost, Duncan. I mean, it's a huge risk having time. There's a burglary risk. There's also a risk that this is that the local authority may be quite interested in that. And I think, have you been to the Environmental Health Department or any of the health and safety?
I got in touch with the council and they put me through to a department whereby I left a message. That's all they allowed me to do.
Do that route, because there's two ways of dealing with this. A, you can get an injunction, and that's going to be costly and difficult if he's living abroad, or you can get the local authority just to dismantle scaffolding, because scaffolding maintained, if it's up for a few months, that's fine, but it's up for a few years, in order to put up a scaffold, you need a licence from the local authority, and the local interested in hearing about this. I don't think it's a phone call, I think it's a letter. If you don't get any joy, go to your local councillor and insist that he takes it up with the appropriate department. I hadn't written, because apart from the burglary risk, if the scaffold falls down, it could kill someone.
Yeah. That's what a tricky situation.
Broke, but like all businesses, people do go into receivership and then they're not interested in their scaffolding poles.
OK, we'll try that route now. How you can. Thank you. It's the Legal Hour here on LBC. We're talking property problems this week. Russell Conway is with me. Then call right now 0345 6060. It's 9:30 on LBC. And here's the news with Serena Farrow.
55 more homes in Derbyshire being evacuated over fears a damaged dam could collapse as further bad weather is forecast for tomorrow. The properties in the Whaley Bridge area are now being cleared after around 50 of their homes. In America, officials in Texas say multiple people shopping centre in the city of El Paso. The country's president, Donald Trump, has tweeted saying, "May God be with you all." It's understood 3 suspects are now in custody. And the talks aimed at stopping strikes at Heathrow Airport tomorrow. More than 170 flights for Monday and Tuesday have been cancelled because of the walkout. Persistent showers over Western Scotland and Northern Ireland, mostly dry though in the south and east, a low of degrees.
This is LBC.
London, we have a problem. Our air is toxic, and driving polluting vehicles is the main cause. The air that I breathe, that my mum and dad breathe, and that you breathe, can cause lifelong disease. But there are solutions, like making our transport greener and creating better spaces to walk and cycle.
These are just some of the ways the Mayor of London and TfL are helping to improve air quality across the capital. Find out how you can make a difference too. London Breathe. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
It's nice to have a break. Music. Nice. At Paddy Power, we thought football shirts could use a break from advertising. That's why we've sponsored Huddersfield Town shirt without a logo and started our shirt campaign where any football team that Paddy will be, well, unsponsored. Don't you wish we weren't on your shirt too? Paddy Power, enough of the nonsense. 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
In the big savings event at Oak Furnitureland, our great-looking 100% solid hardwood furniture now comes with something extra. Big savings and free delivery. Sudo stores nationwide. The big savings and it ends Sunday.
People say you get what you pay for. We disagree. The Peugeot 208 Signature, loaded with features from touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and Android, parking sensors and 16-inch alloys. At £199 a month with £199 initial rental, you really don't get what you pay for. You get a lot more. The Peugeot 208 Signature. All that's missing. Peugeot Motor Company PLC, a credit broker not a lender, will introduce you to PSA Finance UK Limited. Personal finance £99, 18 plus. Guarantee may be required. Terms, eligibility and return conditions apply. You will not own the car.
Clive Bull on LBC. Call 0345
and senior partner at Oliver Fisher Solicitors in
56973.
LBC and the Legal Hour. I'm Clive Bull, with me Hill. So we're taking your property questions. Let's go to Riyadh in Hainault. Hello, Riyadh.
Hi. This is my first call, so I'm slightly nervous.
Don't worry. Tell us the problem.
Okay. So basically, we have rented a property from estate agents in last week of June, and finally, on 29th of July, they have the key. When we entered, one of the room is totally full of molds, really bad. So I have contact in with state agents. Do I proceed this thing lady who's staying with me? Okay. And one more question is, we've got gas cooker and the extractor fan is not working. Is extractor fan is legal to have?
Right. Well, Riyadh, the good news is you've moved in, and that's great, because on the 20th of March this year, the Homes Fitness came into force. And it really only, at the moment, deals with people who took their tenancies after that date. But that means it applies to you. People who had taken the 5th of March this year have to wait until the year before they can use the provisions of this Act. But this Act very much there to help people like you. It's not right for people to live in a proposition to eradicate it. And you should see full of mould. Dangerous. It causes respiratory disease, and it shouldn't be. And say, are you aware of the Fitness for Habitation Act? Under that Act, you have an obligation to get rid of something like mould. Don't get rid of it. Court and get rid of it, and I can ask the judge can write that letter, and landlord is to do nothing about it, or law centre. Solicitor who will be able to take on your case. Lots of right. And in relation to the gas cooker, did the certificate when you moved in?
I think they did. They have said I need to check again.
Well, it's a certificate. It's quite a large, and you should make sure that all the gas appliances are safe, because if the extractor isn't working, that could be an indicator that other things aren't working properly. And if you've got young children in the house, you've got to be absolutely sure. So again, say, I want an up-to-date certificate. He has an obligation.
Okay, good. Thank you. Robin in Bedford.
Good evening, Clive. Thanks for taking.
Go ahead.
So I have a property that I rent. I want to move back off and sell my house because I've got my house on the market, and I know the rules changing. I don't know whether that's come into law yet about the new rule tenant difficulty, and you can't just evict a tenant for no sort of thing.
Well, tell me, Robin, what sort of tenants have you got?
Well, in a month's time, and then after that point, I could then go on to a rolling, month. I'd have to give the tenant 2 months. They'd have to give me 1 month.
Well, the good news is, Robin, the government is currently consulting on a new system where you can't just a consultation. Tricky issue. Much doubt that legislation will come through until possibly the year after. At the moment, if rid of sections is a 2 weeks, normally tenants would probably, you should have a friendly conversation with them, what your intentions are. Don't just serve them the notice, make sure they expect. And then if they don't leave at the end of the notice, you can go to court, as long as you've done everything correctly and you've got your paperwork in order.
It's through an agent anyway, so I use it.
Will be okay. But the good news, fear, because quite a lot of news in the paper about the consultation saying that such reason that only a consultation, it's a short consultation. There are differing points of view. Tenants would say, well, we shouldn't be on at will. Tenants would say, well, we need to operate our business. I don't know, lead to an act of Parliament which will radically change the way we let premises. It's going to happen this year. Parliament's got 1 or 2 other things on its mind. They happen next year. Is it until 1?
Okay. Thank you. Glenn in Catford on LBC.
Michael. Property is in sale, but what's happening as students, we were renting a property for the last, and when we moved in, it was apparently cleaned. There was just every room. There were some windows that didn't actually open. Mould with fungus growing out of it, coming in the nappies, in the sofas. There was no fire in the kitchen. There was duct tape. So we've been living in a property that has had hazards for the last year. Just property last week. Attention that we were expecting a serious rent that we've been paying. I think that the rent we were paying was at all in value of what the living that we're the standard of living. Sorry, it's basically just ended up that our landlord isn't to any of our requests, take our deposit from us, even though that the property he gave us was in an absolute dump, and isn't any sort of rent reparations that we're asking for.
Was the when you moved into the property?
There was, but we managed to miss out quite a lot of goods on the inventory. They just sort of over them. And when we made amendments to the inventory, such as there were windowsills that were completely old, for the landlord to fix it, but what actually just got a handyman in to keep over it and paint over it again. They didn't actually get in a mould detect for any of this stuff.
Was there an inventory checkout out?
Yeah, we're going to be getting that in the news, but we basically were in we're unhappy.
What's your deposit? How much was your deposit?
It's around £2,500.
That's a lot. Was that protected in one of the deposit protection schemes?
It is, but we're really worried, Lord, regardless of giving us a property in a fit state. We're really worried that they're going to come after.
I think so. I don't think so. I mean, to immediately email the deposit protection scheme and say the deposit to you, there are no service which could deduct any sum deposit. You should email the deposit protection scheme and tell me. That's the first thing you need to do. Is how do you deal with this landlord and the fact that he's renting, which sounds really awful over the last 12 months? Well, the difficulty you and your 5 did live in the property 12 months, the roof over your head, and the difficulty going to sue the landlord, and he appreciates the fact that you're students. He may take the view that he has deeper pockets than you, and you probably won't be in a position to bring any legal proceedings against him. But it could be that some of you have got parents that would wish to support the county court and claim a reduction. It could be you could in suggesting that the rent should be reduced by 5% a month or 30% a month. You'd get living in the property. If, say, the property had been so awful that you moved out after a month, you might have had a better case, but you did live there for the full 12 months, and so you had somewhere to have a roof over your head.
So some chance of getting some money back, but you'd probably have to threaten county court.
Yes, and you'd have to have the ability to bring that case in court. A lot of solicitors wouldn't be terribly interested in the case now that you've moved out, because to get access to the property may be difficult, and in order to pursue a case like this, you'd need surveyors and engineers and whatnot to go into the property to do a report, and it may be that the landlord has completely redecorated and redone the property, which would make it very difficult to report on.
But get onto the deposit people straight away.
Get onto the deposit people straight away, not by telephone, by email. Tell them what the situation is and say that you want the deposit returned to you.
OK. Thank you, Glenn. More calls coming in a moment for the Legal Hour here on LBC 9:45.
Eddie Mair, Monday to Friday from 4 p.m. on LBC.
He said it's October the 31st, do or die. If it gets to November the 1st and the UK is not out of the EU, will you stop supporting Boris Johnson?
Well, I suppose it really will depend upon the circumstances.
He's won power by promising again and again to get out of the EU by October the 31st.
And I believe that's what he will do.
If he fails to do that on November the 1st, you're telling me that he's lost your support, yes?
Eddie Mair, Monday to Friday from 4 p.m. LBC.
What would you do if you knew there was a place to learn step-by-step strategies designed the right moves inside the financial markets? A place to develop lifelong skills that could help you generate income and build confidence toward goals. At Online Trading Academy, we know there's an investor in all of us, and we know how to teach people just like you the skills and knowledge that could empower you to take control of your financial future. Start by taking our free introductory class, where you can learn about the 2 biggest mistakes investors make, as well as strategies that could help you make your money work harder for you. For over 20 years, Online Trading Academy has been teaching students skills designed to help them invest with the confidence of the professionals. To register, visit otaclass.co.uk or call 020 3893 2622. That's 020 3893 2622. Trading involves risk and you can lose money. Online Trading Academy promises or guarantees of investment performance. The value of investments is variable and can go down as well as up.
Cancer doesn't care if you're broke, if the bills are stacking up and you're just too sick to work. Cancer's not fussed if your boiler's on the blink, the mortgage is low, or if your family's finances are in a mess. Cancer does not care about you. But we do. So we help you get a grip on your money, figure out benefits, fill in the right forms, and plan ahead. Whatever cancer throws your way, we're right there with you. Search Macmillan Cancer Support.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say it to you, but maybe not Mum and Dad. I don't think they'll be able to do that. Really? I think Mum will help us. I spoke to her about it before. Really? What does she say? I just think she will help us if she can at the time. If she can, though? Yeah. I don't know. Getting onto the property ladder seems like a million miles away.
It isn't easy talking to your family about money, but it is important. The M word from Lloyds Bank. It's good to talk about money.
Clive Bull on LBC.
LBC and the Legal Hour. I'm Clive Bull, and with me is property lawyer Russell Conway from Oliver Fisher Solicitors. And let's take some more questions. Peter in Milton Keynes. Hello, Peter.
Hello.
Hello. What can we do for you?
Oh, I was just looking for some advice, really. We moved out of a property about 3 months ago that we'd signed a 12-month tenancy agreement on because we've managed to buy a house.
Well done.
I wanted to know whether or not you'd be able to end the agreement early, because we told the landlord and the agent that we were intending to vacate at the end of May, and they've sort of made an attempt to re-let it out, but I don't think they've been particularly proactive, and we've since been paying both mortgage and rent.
Oh dear, that sounds dreadful.
We could Yeah, and we're still tied in until the end of September.
And you're sure, Peter, there's no break clause in the tenancy agreement?
I've double-checked. There's no break clause I could see, and I've suggested surrendering it, but he's not been particularly responsive. He's been quite evasive. We tried to get in touch with him a number of times, and the last time we've got in touch with him, he's indicated that he thought the rent was a bit too high and the market was slow, and asked us if we'd consider subsidising the rent for a further 12 months if that was something we were interested in, so he could market it for cheaper.
I mean, you have.
Something we were up for.
I mean, you have looked through the tenancy agreement, because sometimes the break clause is hidden away right at the very end in small print, and you do need to check first of all that there isn't a break clause. But let's just assume for a moment there isn't a break clause. The law, unfortunately, forward, you have signed a contract for 12 months, and if the landlord doesn't re-let the property, you have to pay the rent in full for 12 months. Now, landlords sometimes don't want the hassle of having a disgruntled tenant. They don't want the fact that you may pay the rent slowly. They may want to just do a deal, and they may suggest some form of surrender. And it could be that if you offer to forfeit your deposit and perhaps pay them an extra 2 months' rent, they may accept that. But you should only do that if it's rigidly documented in a deed of surrender, because otherwise you could suggest forfeiting the deposit and pay them some money, and then they may still pursue you for the balance. So don't just do it pursuant to a chat or a phone call. Make sure that it's documented. But sadly, the law as it stands, I'm not sure that I agree with the law as it stands, is that if the landlord doesn't make attempts to remarket the property, he can simply look to you for the full 12 months' rent.
OK, sorry about that, Peter. Good luck with it. Steve in East Ham. Hello, Steve.
Yes, hello there. Thank you for taking my call. We moved into our house. We bought a house and we moved into it in January, and we have problem neighbours. The house next door is owned by a housing association. The next door neighbours, they're ranting and raging, shouting and swearing and physically attacking each other, it seems, almost every night, especially at the weekends. And they've got 2 dogs, and if one dog isn't barking, then the other one is barking. I've spoken to them. They have been going on for years. The association know about it. Do anything. Can you offer advice?
I presume you've been to the housing association for this. Have they written back to you, or have they just or?
At all, don't know if there's anything we can do.
I mean, do you, if the neighbour has a tenancy that allows them to keep big association tenancy agreements for people?
I don't. Honest. They've got 2 dogs, and
be worth.
Pardon?
It would be up from.
Yes.
Tell me, are the dogs because if they're not, you can go to RSPCA, get them.
I think they probably are. I think that they've got their daughter 2 and 3 in the morning, and I think that's probably sets off the dogs.
What you've got is, first of all, to the Housing Estate Association and head your letter complaint and say that you're not happy your has been, because nobody should have with barking dogs. It's dreadfully upsetting, and more couple are constantly fighting. That's a problem for you, and it must be very aggravating for you. The housing association do something about that. Allow their tenants to cause to neighbours. First of all, you need to write your and the complaint. They will have a complaints procedure. You should go down that route. Noise, again, as a previous question, the environment, so he can come along and monitor the noise, and if it's above a certain level, enforcement on the housing association. The neighbours on the other side, I mean, are they disturbed by this family?
Yes, just feel they're people, and they just feel that, well, they've spoken to the housing association ago, and nobody ever seems to. I mean, I don't know how strongly they pursued it. They probably don't know. They might have just made a phone. That.
Are any children in next door?
I think no. Children, as in like under.
Yes.
I think so. No.
I mean, the house and the police.
Yes, the police have been round there, and the chap got arrested for trying to police. This was about a month or so ago. Obviously, they didn't keep it.
I mean, one of the problems that you may not have thought about, Steve, is that maybe a problem that won't be so easy to solve. There are problems that, unfortunately, there are some that can't solve. But the difficulty is that you come to the house, and it seems that you may be coming to sell it sooner rather than later. You would declare this on presentation, because questions about whether there are any problems with the neighbours in the conveyancing, and that the further you pursue your points about the more any prospective purchaser may from you. So bear that.
Steve, for that. Hull now. Hello, Steve.
Hi there. Good evening.
Hi.
So we've cottage which we're renting. Prior to we bought it subject to. Now part of the planning was a property with access to an. Now we got by the highways agency. When we came to buy it, the solicitor privately owned road, and highways should never. We the owners of the road, and they're the value of our property to get. Obviously, we're heavily invested, sort of financially, and with we are. What we can't had proposed and what we have access.
When you bought this, Steve, did your solicitors not which road belonged to you? Because
yes,
that duty, that's their obligation. You're just the customer. You don't know about of country roads and whatnot. It's your job to tell you.
That's right. We bought it subject to planning, so once getting the planning, and a part of the planning was access, which was granted.
Yeah, but the road to your plan, you work to your cottage. But
that's right.
But the road before that, and your solicitor should have given you a report which would have which roads belong to you, authority roads, which were roads which are etc., etc. Your solicitor is there all that information.
Right. So once the planning was passed, they to go buy it, and that's when I found out that the road, because we bought plannings, 18 and design work with the highways agency access, and it wasn't until we went to the solicitor says, "Well, I don't know how you've got access to this because it's a private. The highway should never have given you access." We went back to highways agency, and they said, "Oh, that we shouldn't have granted you." We have already heavily invested with design and what have you, where we then gone through 18 months of planning and all that goes with it.
Have a the highway. I mean, if they have information which led to a financial expenditure part, you may be able to something that lawyers equitable estate be able to say that have given you've disadvantage, and that's cost you a substantial sum of money. I don't know how this road is to you. It's possible for you to live without access to this road.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's up you use it or not.
I guess the problem would be that they're designed with architect's fees and what have you.
So it's a question of cut your losses or not, it sounds like.
Architects give you a steer, and before they draw plans and all the rest of it, look, you may not want, you can't ever drive a car in.
Yes. When we went to they said, no, you have, we've got written access to that road. Until the solicitor went to go buy it, the solicitor said, well, you don't have access to that road because it's a private road.
It sounds like a really risky thing to do. I know it's with hindsight, Steve, and it does no help to you at all, but spending money when you haven't actually bought something you've got to be really careful, haven't you?
Very careful. I mean, when you buy a country property, you have to realise there are a lot more risks than buying a house in a London suburb or a London central. In the country, roads are really quite difficult because you have a wide variety of roads. You've got main roads, adopted roads, unadopted roads, bridleways, tracks. I'm dealing with a road at the moment where nobody quite knows who owns it, and it's a very important road. When you're buying this sort of country property, you need to take very good advice.
OK, well, I hope that helps, Steve. Thank you. We're out of time. Another legal hour next week at the same time. Thanks to Russell Conway, property lawyer and senior partner at Oliver Fisher Solicitors. I'm back at 6 tomorrow evening. Coming up next on LBC, Nick Abbott.
The advice offered in this hour is for guidance only. You should always seek your own independent legal and financial opinion.
Thanks, Clive. If you have been wondering why Nigel Farage looks so healthy, so youthful, so full of vim and vigour, wonder no more. The answer is at hand. In other news, Boris says he is definitely not going to enter into a pact with the Nigel party, so that means he certainly will be doing it almost straight away. Meanwhile, the path to our new tremendous trade deal with America is in doubt, and it's not because of a lack of positivity and a preponderance of doomsters. It's because of a bright orange obstruction in the road. All that and more coming up with me, Nick Abbott, after the new news at 10 on LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 10 o'clock, 55 more homes in Derbyshire being evacuated over fears a damaged dam may collapse as further bad weather is forecast for tomorrow. The properties in the Whaley Bridge area are being cleared after around 1,500 residents were told to leave their homes. Policy and Communications Director at the Grantham Research Institute on Climate Change and the Environment, Bob Ward, has been explaining to LBC what's caused it all.
And like much of the country, it was built for the climate of the last century and is struggling to cope with the climate we now have and the climate that is becoming, because the Met Office earlier this week published a report saying that since 2000 we've had our 10 warmest years on record and 6 of our 7 wettest years on record, which we understand from basic physics is because the atmosphere is warmer. A warmer atmosphere can hold more water, so when it rains more heavily. And so we're seeing more of these heavy rainfall extreme incidents.
Turning to America now, and officials in Texas say multiple people have been killed in a shooting at a shopping centre in the city of El Paso. The country's President Donald Trump has tweeted saying, "May God be with you all." It's understood 3 suspects are in custody. Freelance reporter based there is Marianne Martinez, who has the latest for LBC.
A male is in custody and that he used a rifle. That's the weapon police believe was used in the shooting. We're hearing disturbing numbers about how many people were rushed to the hospital, dozens of people. And I think probably everyone here is hoping that that is not indicative of fatalities, which is not confirmed at this time, but I think everyone's hoping that it will be on the lower end. But we do know that several people are dead.
Here, and a second man's being charged with the murder of a 20-year-old who was stabbed to death in London in South Hampstead. The man, who's the same age, is accused of killing Abdulhali Hassan last month and attempting to murder another man. Finally, Andy Murray says he's feeling fine and he'll keep pressing to get back into singles tennis. He and his brother Jamie have been knocked out of the City Open in Washington. They'll go to the quarter, though. LBC weather, heavy showers continuing across northern and western parts of the UK. More persistent over western Scotland and Northern Ireland with a low of 13. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Serena Farrow.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Nobody knows who the hell he is.
OK, shall I wipe up some of the texts and emails and so on from last night, because otherwise they'll just get stale. Mary says, the collapse of capitalism, climate change, World War III, the end is nigh. Blimey, that's not a very good start, is it? We're all going to die.
Oh, no.
Eventually. Joe in Neasden says, Nick, I'm an expert on the climate. Oh, well, then no one is remotely interested in your opinion then, Joe. He says, I'm an expert on the climate. I've been, B-I-N, doesn't sound like an expert. I've been watching the weather for 40 years and I've studied the... Well, you mean you've just been looking out the window? And I've studied the reasons why our climate was different and has varied over 100 years, and those changes can all be explained by science. We know why those changes happened at the moment. None of these... There's no comma in all of this. There's like about 100 words, not a single item of punctuation. Is it worth reading to the end?
No.
This says, I don't believe in climate change. Noah had floods. Don't get me started. Austin says, relating to some of the callers that I had last night, it looks like the podcast could be 3 hours long next week. Yeah, that's because some of the callers were a bit... Yeah, a little bit. There's going to be a new podcast coming out on Monday, by the way. My new Super Soaraway podcast is called The Nick Abbott Habit. It's the 30 minutes of amusement. It's the best of this show. Like concentrated funny with all the, the dreck edited out. I think you'll love it. It's available on Global Player. That is our app. If you haven't got our app, then what have you been doing with your life? So you want to download our app. It is tremendous. It's got all of the stations that we do. They've got Heart and X with Chris Moyles and Capital and Classic, my favourite. Plus, just loads of podcasts. Scroll down to the Global Podcast. Way over to the right, you'll find mine, which has been carefully placed in a dark room under some coats, making it easier to find. If you don't do things like that by apps, then just point your pewter at it. Ask the internet. You've probably got you. Have you seen the internet lately?
Dreadful.
Ask for it by name, the Nick Abbott Habit. Alan says, I love your weather forecasting. Your calculations are spot on. I always try and imagine everyone trying to keep up and the looks on their faces. Well, it's perfectly simple. To get from centigrade to Fahrenheit, you double it. No, you don't. More accurately, you multiply, divide by 5. And so, for instance, if it's 12 degrees centigrade, then 12 times 9 is 2. 5 into 132 is 63. And 63 plus 32 is 10. So 12 degrees centigrade, 110 Fahrenheit. Easy. Bill says, words along those lines. And Stephen Newsham, there is such a... says, I have heard several interviews this week with various government... During these interviews, crowbar the phrase democratic backstop conversation. They all had the memo into the script. This is word slogans you have previously... are starting to repeat it. Feeling nauseous. Democratic backstop. Ah, yes. Tell us more. Taking it back. We now have an Prime Minister, an unelected head of state, and be overseen by an elected upper house. Does that sound like a democracy to you?
No.
Oh, and that tremendous trade deal, it's off. Unless we just put up this country and give it steaming Mimi in the White House.
Shut up!
Him. Now dictate. Well, he wants to dictate ambassador to his country, who is doing up his tie and smartening his hair just to hear that job.
I'm a nutcase.
And dictating our foreign and And he didn't complain much at all.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Nigel Farage suggests we meet at 3 p.m. in the Westminster pub, starts the article. But then he arrives and orders a cup of tea. Nigel Farage in a pub with a journalist and photographer without a pint in his hand. What's going on, says the Times. Tired, explains Nigel Farage, and adds that daytime drinking has been curtailed. No, it hasn't. There's evidence that it hasn't. In the papers on it. A liquid lunch on the Friday. Right. Not as often as I'd like, he says. Life's too bleeping busy. Bleeping. Rude.
Be polite.
Then he drops another bombshell. He's been exercising. Anybody believe that?
No.
He says, I haven't lost or noticed, Nige. All this weight doing nothing. We didn't notice that either. I haven't lost all this weight doing nothing, he says. My Union Jack socks barely fit me anymore. The Times says, oh yeah, in a gym. No, he says, looking appalled. Full of, come on. Posers, said the man who, the camera out, poses with a fag and a pint. He's complaining about posers. And by the way, you would have to have been in a gym to know that it was full of posers. Gyms are not full of posers. And what do you mean by posers? But people just gawping at themselves in the mirror. Full of posers, he says. Oh, please. He is coy but discloses one secret of his routine. Now, for those who haven't read this article, guess what his routine consists of. Go ahead. I'll just wait while you guess. Go on, throw things at me. Anything else Nigel Farage do to lose all of that weight that... All of that weight that he left behind? What has he done to lose all that weight? Go ahead, have a guess. I bet my glamorous assistant wants to guess. Join in.
59.
What? What's that?
I thought we were talking about the weather.
Oh! No, incorrect on both counts. Claims that he has lost a lot of weight by practicing yoga. Okay, first of all, three things. Couple of three things. First, no you don't. Second, no you don't. And third, no you don't. And a dog. Susanna says, as a stupid common person, I work out forecast. 16 centigrade is 61 Fahrenheit. Well, you're just embarrassing yourself now, Susanna. I don't know where you went to school. 16 centigrade to 61 Fahrenheit, you multiply it by 9, divide it by 5, and add 30. Just right off the top of my head is 108. And 108 divided by 5 is plus 32 is 78. So you're way off. God, the standard of education in this country is just plain embarrassing. You just embarrassed yourself on national radio, Susanna. Squid tweets, there will be no UK-US trade deal if they ruin the Good Friday. Congress can veto any trade deal that Trump negotiates. Yeah.
Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
Not even like a smart person, Donny. Owen says, my three favourite things are not using punctuation. I've no idea. I don't know why that's funny, but it just is. Trust me, I'm a professional. Archie says, never mind a backstop. Here's the Sex Pistols. Oh. I can remember when people used to get prosecuted for putting that album in the window of their music shop. Can you remember when shops used to sell music?
No.
Oh, yeah, that's like ancient history, kids. There used to be a thing called music. Or there used to be a thing called albums before the advent of Sheeran. He is fantastic, isn't he? Boring. Thank you. He's just completed, so I read over and over and over again, the papers were absolutely chock full of it, the most successful, the most money-making tour in rock and roll history. How depressing is pretty depressing, but Ed Sheeran just turns that up to 11. That. I mean, the previous incumbents at the top spot were U2. Stones, not Pink Floyd, not the Ooh. Ed Bloomin' Sheeran. Ugh. Well, at least it's not George Bloomin' Ezra. At least we've got that. Ain't that right, Mum? My mum absolutely loves... Pete says, can you bring Mike on the show tonight? He can explain properly the climate change. Made my night yesterday. Who's Mike?
The one you enjoyed last night.
Which one's that?
He was quite quiet. Was talking about climate change.
I should listen to this show more. 0345 6060. At least we can agree on that. 03453. You can text 84850, email nicka@lbc.co.uk, and if you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday and Saturday night at 10, Nick Abbott, LBC.
This is LBC.
If you get BT Superfast Fibre Essential, go on, and BT Sport together, go on, you can choose tech worth up to $249 1S All Digital Edition or a Samsung Galaxy tablet. Oh, get $39.99 a month with a 24-month contract and $29.99 setup. Join by 15th of August in time for the new season. Search BT Broadband. BT. Be there.
CPI increase each March from 2020. BT Sport content and price may change. New customers $47.99 a month from month 25. Terms apply.
Car Giants now have thousands of ULEZ compliant cars in stock. Or visit cargiants.co.uk.
Car Giants. Lists and podcasts.
All together and all for free.
Global Player. Downloaded from your App Store now.
Ah, sun, sea, sangria, and a new boiler from British Gas. You shouldn't have to choose between a boiler and a summer holiday. We're with you. That's why all our interest-free credit, with no deposit required, and a fee. Plus, you'll get £250 off a new boiler when you book a quote by the 31st of August. Our existing home care customers will get £550 off. Search British Gas New Boiler. Conditions apply.
Thomas Edison. He's months away from lighting up the world.
The man who controls electricity.
Westinghouse is placing a bid.
Edison changed the whole world.
Automation, transportation, communication, the future. Hands in every venture. Gotta keep them away.
Michael Shannon.
I have the better system.
Nicholas Holt.
Nikola Tesla. I fix problems. There's never going to be anything named Tesla again.
And Tom Holland.
His current kills people.
Only because you said it would.
The Current War in cinemas now.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
It's going very well so far. 3. I want to talk about the pact that is probably going to be enacted or signed, if indeed such a thing is actually, people do put pen to paper, between the Conservative Party and the Nigel Party. And Priti Patel, I want to talk about her. Plenty else besides. But first, here's a call in Hemel Hempstead. Hello, Charles.
Hello, yeah. I would just like to ask a question, actually, on break.
Questions? I know. People send me homework all the time. It's the weekend.
I know. But all I wanted to know was, because nobody has given me a straight answer, and I'm hoping that you can give me a straight answer. The 33, not Theresa May.
We're still not...
Or 30 billion that Theresa May signed us into.
Theresa who?
May. Anyway, do we have to give Europe that? If we leave on a no-deal basis, are we still tied into that deal?
Yes.
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 So we still have to give them that money?
Yes.
And that's an act of willful misconduct. Yeah, because basically hand over a load of money that you didn't need to hand over, and then not get what you want.
To hand it over, because it's not... We've already agreed to hand that money over. It's a budget that we agreed to, Charles.
Yep, I agree with you, but we didn't need to agree to give them it if we left.
That's not true. That's like sitting down at a restaurant, eating a meal and saying that we don't really need to pay the bill. We having eaten already.
Yep, but we're not going to carry on eating, are we? So why are we giving them it?
Because we've just had our food.
We haven't, though. They've had more out of us than we've ever had out of them.
We've had... okay. Can you defend that assertion?
Yeah, okay.
We've had more from...
them than they've ever had from us.
No, that's the other way around.
Look, hold up.
Don't you more from us than we've
exactly.
had... Yeah, okay.
That's what... Go on.
Defend that assertion. They've had more from us than we've had from them.
Yep, look at Greece.
Greece?
Yep.
What's that got to do with us?
What have they had out of us? Yeah, okay.
What about the amount that we've had from them? Immediately you change the subject, Charles.
Well, basically, you've only got to look at
as though it's a linear equation. What?
You've only got to look at my cars and your cars.
My cars and your car.
Yeah. What's your car? What is your car?
Does this have anything to do with what we were talking about?
It does.
Go on.
Of course it does. Mine's a
About
BMW,
you, Charles.
so...
Take cover, everybody. Clear the pavements. I see an Audi in my rearview mirror. I grip my steering wheel more firmly because I know something berserk is about to... You should have told me you were an Audi driver right off the top, Charles, and I would have got rid of you straight away. They're not advertising with us, are they? That is true, though. Maybe it's just that you associate behaviour with a certain incident that you saw, and then after that you're all confirmed. You think, yeah, see, Audi driver. Crazy driving might be reinforcement when I see a crazy driver, and it's an Audi rather than, say, a Honda driver. Although I think it's very unlikely that a crazy driver would be in a Honda, unless it's one of those Hondas with a wing on the back that's bigger than the one that used to soar Concorde aloft on. I saw one of those today. How utterly ludicrous do those people look on the back that a jet fighter could utilise, and he's crawling along the high street at 3 miles an hour. His car looked like a trainer, as in shoe. Rich says, Nick, did you hear the Brexit Party MEP on with Clive, who said he wouldn't do an electoral pact with the Tories because he couldn't trust them, but he said he would be very coalition. Really?
We've got a few idiots in our party.
That's your opinion, Nigel, and yours alone. The rag tweets, can someone tell clever idiot Nick Abbott we don't and never have elected the Prime Minister of this country? Leader of the party elected becomes the Prime Minister. Tell Nick he's welcome. Well, rag picker, I'll throw this back at you. Do. You ask most people in the street what the name of their local MP is, and they'll have no idea. People go to the polls to register their support for the leader of the party, not their local MP, whose opinions on anything they are unfamiliar with. Another pedant. Oh, don't you know that people don't... I read it on the internet. Probably read it on the internet.
What do I know about it? All I know is what's on the internet.
Here is a call in Bloomsbury. Sophia.
Good evening, Nick. I hope I'm
okay.
I hope you're doing well.
There you go.
A mathematician, I just want to give you a better version of the centigrade to Fahrenheit conversion by cheating. You just forget about the 9 and turn it into a 10 by up-rounding it, and then you got your 2. And then so you take 25, and then you add on, you have 50, and you get R out if you're not too frantic about getting it accurately right.
No idea what you've just said. It all just came by me in a blur, Sophia, but please, I'm begging you, don't repeat it.
All right, then. Okay, well, 4 different ways for it.
Now, this is the kind of mathematical... Go ahead.
Responsible for Wallace prison. Now, just distinctly, they're quite recent.
Wait, another word, Sophia. Been accused of
the lady said they called the police.
Okay. That may have just subject to his weight. There no as far as I'm aware.
Okay. The other one is that he's not an extra terminal in Heathrow. He's going to throw himself on the developers.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, well, that's another way he might go. And then...
Let's go and concrete him over. Why not?
Indeed. So, the Lib Dems... The yellow blob in the White House now wanting to rewrite the agreement, and to say if you get your colons right, you might know all about and colon space. Sophia, Mr. Trump knows something about the nuclear disarmament treatment when it happened at the time.
Okay, well, you're making a lot of sense, Sophia.
I'm so glad. It's nice to.
Okay, thanks a lot. I'll try and unpick that later. Anybody have any idea what that 0345 6060 973?
War.
Yeah, we don't doubt that. We do not doubt that. It's just a question of who he's going to pick a war with. It could be China. Very unlikely to be China because China are too big, and Donny only picks on the small and the weak, which is how he wants us, by the way. Him and Vlad that were small and weak. He ain't going to do us no favours. Already the trade deal twice now, 3 times now. He's said, well, you can't have a trade deal unless you do this, and then he said, well, and it was stop hoarding. You know, the 5G is going to be tremendous. Groovy. I've got no idea what it is. It will make your phone act annoyingly more quickly. Probably something like that. Won't that be great?
Negative.
And then he said, you can't have a huge and tremendous trade deal unless you fall in line over China. Oh, no, Iran. So it says about Iran now, because previously we were all for Irans. We were getting on just famous learning Isfahan. So much. And now, the third thing, now you can't have a huge and tremendous trade deal if you tax our tech companies. We have taken back control from an entirely democratic organisation at which we had gifted it to a bright orange ape in the had a big voice. This entire country is his now. We're his dog. It's called Taking Back Democracy. Thanks, Nige. You're the best. Pat says, please explain to the fool it's a contract. Agreed it. Now we have to pay it. Tell him to think of it in terms of mobile phone contract. A mobile phone contract with Huawei. Yet we agreed to it. It's a budget. We all sat around. So we owe them that money now. You can't welch on your debts and expect to still be able to borrow money at a decent rate. I mean, if you have got a credit card debt and you don't pay it, and you are... If you go to and say, I know that I didn't pay off my last loan, and I'm refusing to give the bank over the road any more money, but would you like to lend me some money? What do you think they'll say? They'll probably load up their customer welcoming machine. The very least, if they ever say yes, rate's going to be so high it'll make your eyes water. They'll be squeezing you like a lemon. And that's exactly what will happen to us. The financial ratings agencies will put a big sign on us saying, warning, warning, we're not to be trusted. So we can't do that. It is impossible to welch on that deal, no matter how the various members of the Conservative Party and the ERG and all those tough guys, you know, Dad's Army, that lot, they say that we can do it. They know we can't. They're kidding you. It's just a fact. And we're all about feelings now, baby. Being had when they say that we can go away and not pay that bill. They're lying to you. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850, email nick@lbc.co.uk, and if you are on Twitter, you're almost certainly wasting your life. And don't even get me started on you people on Instagram. At 10, Nick Abbott, LBC. It's 10:30, the news headlines with Serena Farrow.
Residents who a town in Derbyshire have been allowed once again back to their homes briefly as emergency services continue efforts to prevent a damaged dam from collapsing ahead of more bad weather. Water levels at the reservoir in Whaley Bridge have been reduced by 0.5 metre since Thursday, but the damage to the 180-year-old structure remains at a critical level. Than a shooting near a shopping centre in Texas. The US president's tweet in El Paso are very bad. Donald Trump's also revealed he was working with state and local authorities following the attack on the Cielo Vista Mall. And a man's been charged with illegally importing firearms after 60 guns were found hidden in a car at the port of Dover from Calais. The National Crime Agency says the whole is believed to be the largest seizure of lethal purpose weapons at a port in the UK. LBC weather, well, heavy showers continuing across northern and western parts of the UK, mostly dry in the south with a low of 13 degrees.
This is LBC. Car giants now have thousands of ULEZ compliant cars in stock, all at incredibly low prices. cargiants.co.uk.
Builder Ali spent his 40-year career whistling as he worked. Then he was offered a free pension review from what he thought was a reputable firm. Was a scammer, and his lifetime savings was stolen.
Waiter! Another bottle of champers over here.
Don't let a scammer endure your retirement. Check who you're dealing with. Visit ScamSmart from the Financial Conduct Authority.
Dads. They're often the first person in the firing line when the Wi-Fi isn't working. But with BT Complete in every room, Billy can fight ogres in the bedroom, Becky can where she likes, wherever she likes, naturally. Join today. It's $39.99 a month on an 18-month contract with a $29.99 setup fee. BT customers can upgrade with BT Plus. BT, be there.
New customers, CPI increase starting 2020. $44.49 a month from month 19 up to 3 discs to guarantee Wi-Fi or £20 off your bill.
Psst. Did you know that Pimlico Plumbers have an utterly fabulous 24-hour holding? Whatever your predicament, Pimlico Plumbers can send a friendly face to your door within the hour. Shh. And just between us, their work even comes with a 12-month guarantee. They aren't just any old tradesmen, they're Pimlico Plumbers, and they're always available on 0207 928 8888 or at pimlicoplumbers.com.
Hours before. What's great about deliveries, I can get them sent quite swiftly, and for last-minute flowers that fit through their letterbox and look incredible. Zingflowers.com. Amazing every.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Yeah! Dudes!
Susie says, Nick, I also think that Georgia Ezra is great.
Oh, no.
Ugh. It's another one of these blokes who sings through his nose. Somebody should get him a Mongolian flute. And Ruth emails, Nick, when it's hot, it's hot. When it's cold, and rain is wet. What more do you need to know about the weather? Well, when it's going to be wet and cold and... I'll check for you while you wait. 78 degrees tomorrow. Wow! We'll take it. That's great. 78 degrees. That's more like it. And then down to 70, there or thereabouts. Not 100 no more. That's gone. Meanwhile, 3 on Monday, 72 on Wednesday, 74, 75, 71. Their own weather. Raining tonight and raining tomorrow and raining on Monday and raining on Tuesday and raining on Wednesday and raining on Thursday and raining on Friday and raining on Saturday and raining on Sunday and raining on Monday. This is Monday the 12th now. So raining every single day this coming week, and then the following week, raining on Monday and raining... Just tapped the wrong thing and my Google Assistant is asking me what I want. Busy. Raining on the 13th and raining on Wednesday and raining on Thursday and raining on Friday. That's the weather in Glasgow. It don't seem fair, do it, really? Still, you won't need your hoses, you gardeners in Glasgow. Blackburn, hello, Scott.
Hi, Nick. I've just watched an amazing film here, and it's made me think of the backstop in Ireland, because the same people attacking Russia and demonising Putin for the Ukraine situation are the same people that are saying we can't do Brexit because of the Northern Ireland situation. And it's the same situation. It's about markets, Ukraine going to the EU, having a deal with the EU so that Russia would then do the Ukraine, whereas with Brexit, if we leave, it's the same concern. The Remainers have the same concern that Putin had over Ukraine. Do you understand?
No.
You don't get it?
No,
Ukraine...
I seriously doubt anybody got it from your explanation just now. So you're just seeing a movie
called Ukraine on Fire. If Ukraine has a trade deal with the EU and joins the EU, then with the backstop, the markets because Ireland is in the EU, and if we leave, do you understand what I'm saying? It's not that difficult. It really isn't.
Well, it's very, very complicated the way you just explained it to Scott. It may be actually very, very easy, but maybe it's.
I don't think.
Maybe it's not a pension. Maybe it's a problem with your explanation.
The same concern the Remainers...
Well, let's go through it one by one. The same concern that the Remainers have, yes?
is that because we leave the EU, then the EU will have the markets will have access to our markets. Stuff come in through the through the border. So we'll need a hard border.
Hard border.
Yeah, you're just being facetious. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You're pretending not to.
It's got nothing to do with it, but that does sound like a fascinating film.
Boring.
Some cranes on fire. Call the fire brigade, my recommendation. Pete says, Trump's trade deal also this week upsets Ireland over the backstop. Trump this week, no deal if the UK upsets Ireland over the backstop. That makes as much sense as my last caller. It all fits right in, doesn't it?
No.
Mal in Belfast says, RRR. He says, isn't it obvious that Trump is backing out of all America's local government acts and past presidents because he wants his name on everything from now on? Talk about an egotist. Good God, says Mal. Yes. Trump is a vaunting narcissist. A narcissist. Has there anybody in the history of the planet more narcissistic than that man? He thinks his reflection is just super on everything because it reaffirms to him that he is tremendous and great and huge. I think he knows down deep inside that he's a serial failure and that he only got anywhere because his dad kept over and over again. I think it was $400 billion, wasn't it? Something like that. He's failed in every business.
In every business I've been in.
Failed in every business he's been in. I think he made one good deal, and that was the first building that he bought with his dad's money, which he then turned over because he just happened to alight on a good location at the perfect time. Complete luck. In New York, which in the 1970s, if you went there at that time, you'll know was very, very... It was a hellhole, the same kind of hellhole that he just described Baltimore as. It was scary. But there was a lot of locations then that are hugely that were cheap then, that are hugely expensive now. And he was at the right place at the right time. Pure dumb luck. And he turned this building around, and I think that's the only success he's ever had. Everything else has been a failure. Apart from one thing, persuading people that he's been a success. That is his greatest achievement. Putting across the idea that he has been a success. In that regard, he is an actual... but he does rely on a certain demographic to the flame of his genius alive.
I love the poorly educated.
Yeah, those people. Michael and Ron Patek, BMW drivers are the worst on the roads. Well, I think that used to be the case. I can remember Jeremy Clarkson said that once, that if there was some numpty who was tailgating you and literally pushing you down the road, making you go faster, it was going to be... Used to be the case, but it ain't no more. I think they're Audi drivers now. Every time someone does something berserk, I look over and think, oh, yeah, of course. Those rings on the back of his car. Not always a him, sexist. Women can be just as bad a driver. Yes, they can. Yes, they can. Yes, they can. Just as aggressive, just as stupid. Stupid find to the male of the species. I think you'll find that's right. Jim says, I am reading that the Queen has fixed the Queen has fixed the roof on Sandringham, paid $500,000 of her own money. And, is any of the monarchs, says Jim. Well, it is now. It becomes hers. And that's the end of it. I thought that she got the Sultan of Brunei to pay for it. Wasn't that a thing? Because they never pay for anything. The royal family never pay for anything. Everything is free all the time. You know, when Hazza went to that party that Google just threw with all the money that they saved by not paying taxes, jet and a private boat and the other, and he put them up in a giant house that went right out onto the beach. I'm sure it was great. Did he pay for anything?
No.
Of course not. They never do. Hang on, I'm going to cough. That's better. Susanna tweets, maybe Trump should try yoga. Should try yoga. Does anybody want to see Trump's downward dog?
Negative.
No. Not even Melania wants to see that.
I don't care.
Well, actually, she doesn't care. Let's have a call in Beckenham. Ali.
Yes. Hi, Nick.
Ali.
Yeah, this is really weird. Happily watching, and then my wife out of these 4 lights in the sky in formation, trailing what looked like fireworks, and we thought, just some sort of firework display. But as I kept watching, no fireworks, no sound. They did this whole formation thing, flying as a diamond, going into a horizontal strike across the sky. No sound, just sort of disappeared. I videoed it on my iPhone, which is pants. I think I need to get a better phone. I just called in to say...
Now, wait a minute. Are you trying to tell me that you have video evidence of extraterrestrial craft, but the video is shaky and difficult to make out? Because that would...
No, it's not shaky, and I'm not saying they're extraterrestrial at all. What I'm saying is of something quite bizarre.
Yes.
I'm thinking we can't be the only people that have seen this.
Well, I was on Beachy Head just the other day, and somebody had made the stupid mistake of bringing a drone there.
Yeah, no drone, mate. No, this was no drone.
Drone bores, please. That whine that's associated with them is just awful.
Stop whining.
No drone, man. This was dead silence.
But it could have been a drone far away, too far away for you to hear. You could see it right now, but not hear it.
This was really bright, and the trails it was leaving in terms of like burnt iron fire.
Wow, that sounds great. Send me a video, Ali.
All right.
What TV programme were you watching, by the way? It wasn't E.T. or anything like that, was it?
No.
Close Encounters of the Third Kind?
Yowza. No, it was actually the Transformers Age of Extinction.
Oh, my God. Well, all of your senses have probably been Ali. Is your brain fighting back?
It is, maybe. I don't... But I'm going to keep an eye out.
OK. Well, I'll look forward to some updates, mate.
OK.
All right, thanks a lot. 0345 6060 973. It's OK, we're just under attack from alien spacecraft. Nothing to worry about. You can text 84850 UK, and if you're on Twitter, it's at LBC, Friday and Saturday night at 10.
Here on LBC. Tomorrow afternoon from 12.
You know, I don't know Boris Johnson. I'm not going to call him Boris. He happens to be the Prime Minister of... I corrected myself a couple of weeks ago on this note and have stuck with it ever since, just like Theresa May or Mrs May. His name is either Boris Johnson or Mr Johnson. It's not Boris. He's not Cher. He's definitely not Kylie, and he's certainly not...
Conversation. Majid Nawaz on LBC.
Essential. Go on. And BT Sport together. Go on. You can choose tech worth up to £249 on us, like an Xbox One S All Digital Edition or a Samsung Galaxy tablet. Oh, get in! It's $39.99 a month with a 24-month contract and $29.99 setup. Join by 15th of August in time for the new season. Search BT. Be there.
CPI increase each March from 2020. BT Sport content and price may change. New customers £47.99 a month from month 25. Terms apply.
Great British summer. Big on lighter bites for brighter evenings. Big on 2 succulent salmon fillets for only £3.25. Of baby British potatoes for just 80p, and big on a bit of greenery with broccoli at only 68p. Now that's big on quality and always little on price. Subject to availability, selected stores, excludes NI.
G'day. Hi, it's Cobb. Girlfriend wants to move in. How long you been seeing the lovely lady? Whoa! Where's the fire, Cozza?
Buy yourself some time, mate.
Tell your pad princess.
And it needs some renovations.
Then, every time you see her, you need to be wearing a tool belt.
Salsa dancing? Tool belt.
10-pin bowling?
Tool belt. Art gallery? Tool belt. The key is to start jobs, but never finish them.
That should buy you at least 6 months.
Cheers, guys. Sorted.
Hooroo!
Foster's. Good call. Car Giants now have thousands of ULEZ compliant cars in stock, all at incredibly cargiants.co.uk.
Psst. Did you know that Pimlico Plumbers have an utterly fabulous 24-hour service for plumbing, heating, drains, roofing, electrics, appliances, carpentry and building? Whatever your predicament, Pimlico Plumbers can send a friendly face to your door within the hour. Shh! And just between us, they aren't just any old tradesmen, they're Pimlico Plumbers. 928 8888 or at pimlicoplumbers.com.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Yes, hello. I've been waiting for you. Hello.
Yes, I've specifically been waiting for Barry in Lewisham. Barry.
Hi there. Hi, Nick. I'm sorry about Trump and Brexit and all sorts, but I can't be bothered anymore. Those lights, it's depressing, it's soul-destroying. But those lights, I used to live in Sydenham, right, which is not far from Beckenham, and I saw those lights in an east-south-easterly direction. That direction.
Well, yeah, when did you see it?
This was years ago. I was younger.
Well, they can't possibly be the same lights.
They
tell me that aliens from space are only interested in going to Sydenham.
It was far away. Obviously, you can't tell the distance because it's up in the sky, and I can't triangulate that well. But what I do know, I'm not brilliant on that. But what I do know is that the lights, they were hovering they were staying stationary in the sky. And I was standing there, I was walking down, and we looked up. I said, "Look at that!" And we looked and we watched. Oh, that's odd, isn't it? To a straight line. I thought, oh, that's weird. Then they moved into a diamond. I thought, how's it doing that? If it's an aircraft or something, then it should be, it can't do those sort of manoeuvres. And it did these sort of manoeuvres and went off and disappeared. And it was like, hold on, what were we just looking at? And we queried it for a bit, but then we stopped. And we thought, obviously, yeah.
And now you're older, and we still don't.
No, well, do you know what? It could exist. I don't doubt that they could exist, but I fact, right, that I saw these lights in formation, and they were doing things that craft shouldn't be able to do.
Right.
Especially that. I mean, I'm in my 40s now, right, and that was when I was about 19.
You hadn't been eating any brownies by any chance, had you?
No,
right,
no.
Okay, then.
I was quite responsible. Quite fairly, I had my moments, but that was something we definitely saw. We watched it, and we was there for a good about 5 minutes, watching this thing do this formation and dance, and it was literally dancing.
But what was your conclusion?
I decided that, well, it's probably something extraterrestrial, or...
But it can't possibly be. I mean, if aliens from space are coming beings, then they will know how daft we are, so they wouldn't show themselves to us. I mean, they may actually be walking among us, but they certainly wouldn't advertise the fact.
It may have been unintentional, but I know for a fact, right, it couldn't have been a military display, because, I mean, this was years ago, right, 30 years ago. Now, I know technology hasn't moved on that far in the past 30 years, but it's definitely not. It wasn't at that stage. And the way it was moving, it wasn't like it was in one particular way. An aircraft moves in a straight line. They manoeuvre differently, direction, long and meandering. This was sharp changes, right? It was in one place, and whoops, went into a diamond formation. Whoops, went into a flat line. So what's going on here?
They travel billions of miles across space just to give you a light show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I was grateful. I was grateful for the moment, but thank you. Yeah.
Sure. All right. Thanks a lot for the update, Barry. I am begging you, I do not want a whole evening of aliens from space calls. Chris says, why do you never put Northerners to air? What, are you kidding? I was just editing down some shows for future podcasts, and there was with. Now, hang on a minute, Nick. I can't do his voice very well, but he was absolutely podcast. Not the one coming out on Monday, but maybe the one after that. He was superb. Well, we found a star, but there are loads of calls from the north. All they go call. I can't put callers to air if they don't call. This says, I wouldn't want the royal family to be abolished, but they should fund themselves. That family's worth about £500 million, and yet we £83 million per year. And they voluntarily pay a bit of tax.
Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate it, Your Majesties. Can we buy you a new 10 grand fridge? Patricia called to say they're not aliens, they are fireflies. A plane display. They will be in Eastbourne in a few weeks. They are fireflies, a plane... OK. The £39 billion payment is linked to the withdrawal agreement negotiated by Ollie Robbins. How's the negotiations going, by the way?
Oh, fabulous.
He says it remains unsigned. Unsigned agreements are just pieces of paper. My biased friend, you are wrong, sorry, says John. It don't make no, never mind who it was negotiated by. These are payments due because of agreements that we signed up for. It's the budget is set 7 years ahead in the EU, and when they asked us if we agreed with it, we said yes, thereby putting us on the line to dump up the amount that we owe. It's the amount that we owe. And any politician that tells you that we can get away without paying it, they're lying to you. They're making it up. Either that, or they are sorely mistaken and ignorant of the... I don't know. Beckon them not to worry. I'm a few miles away in South Croydon in a light aircraft doing a display and trailing firework-type things behind them. They were virtually overhead, making plane noises and flying like planes. No sign of extraterrestrial life. No reason to be alarmed. Says Dan, who could quite well be an alien himself, making it up just to make us feel better. You just don't know these days, do you? We could be being trolled by E.T. James says, I spent half an hour watching a red dot hovering in the sky outside my bedroom window. It seemed very close, but no noise at all. Then it suddenly went flashing green. Just after that, I remember my phone flashes green when I have a message. I was looking at the reflection of my phone for half an hour. And Derek says, the person in about the mysterious lights was probably seeing Nigel Farage travelling back home. What, on a private plane, you mean? Yeah, no doubt. So I want to talk about Nigel Farage, who has designs on leading this country. And it looks like he may be about to get his most fervent wish. Of course, he could go to America, team up with his best buddy Donny and run this country from over there, or he could do it directly from here. It's like the top